A slow chime woke him, though waking was not quite the right word. Daniel Reyes was floating somewhere between sleep and the world, half aware that he had a body, but unsure where it ended. He could hear distant voices speaking in soft musical tones. He could feel something cool flowing under his skin, like a river he had swallowed. His eyes opened. The ceiling above him was pale white and curved, lit from within. He was lying flat on a bed that seemed to be made of soft light rather than fabric. A faint blue glow surrounded his body, holding him gently in place. The piece of whole steel was gone from his chest. He could see the empty space where it had been, sealed under a clear film of something that pulsed once every few seconds. A face moved into his view, the same Solari healer from the wrecked Halberd. The being's luminous skin was a steady silver now, calmer than before. "Human," the floating disk chimed at his ear. "I am healer Olen. You are aboard our vessel, the Lorana. Your wound is healed, your heart still beats, but there is little time." Daniel tried to speak. His throat was dry. "How long? 2 of your minutes since we brought you aboard. Your blood is almost gone. Your body cannot make more in time." Olin moved one of the small upper hands above Daniel's chest. A floating image appeared in the air, showing his body in glowing lines. Most of the lines were faint. A few were almost dark. "We cannot give you our blood," Olin said. "Solari blood will poison your cells." "There is no human blood stored on this ship. There is no time to reach a station." The healer paused. "But there is the nanofluid." Daniel turned his head a little. "What is that?" A second Solari stepped close. This one was older, with deeper silver patterns along the neck. Olin introduced this one as Senior Healer Vaughn. Vaughn spoke through its own floating disc. "It is a living silver fluid. Inside it are many small machines, each smaller than a grain of dust. They can carry oxygen through your body. They can find broken parts and fix them. They can do the work of blood and more." Daniel listened, his breath shallow. "It was made for our own kind," Olin said. "We have tested it on 3 Solari volunteers. It worked for them, but you are human. We have never put it inside a human before. We do not know how your body will answer it." "What is the risk?" Daniel whispered. The two healers looked at each other. Their skin flickered in a quick exchange of patterns that the translator did not turn into words. "Honest answer, von Shaint, your body may reject it, your heart may stop, your nerves may burn, or it may save you, we do not know." Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. The dark behind his eyelids felt heavy. He thought of the halberd, broken and silent behind them. He thought of his sister, who had begged him not to take this mission. He thought of how cold the cargo bay had been. He opened his eyes. "Do it," he said. Olin gave a slow bow with its upper arms. "We begin now." The Solari healers moved with calm and quiet speed. Clear tubes lowered from the ceiling and pressed gently against Daniel's neck and arms. He felt small pricks, then a strange pulling feeling, as if something inside him were being slowly drawn out. He looked down and saw his own blood flowing through the tubes, dark and slow, leaving his body. At the same time, a second set of tubes pressed in. From these tubes, a silver-gray fluid began to enter him. It was not bright like metal. It looked more like liquid mercury mixed with starlight, soft and shifting, with tiny sparks moving inside it. Daniel felt the cold first. It crept up his arms like winter water rising. His chest grew heavy. His fingers tingled. He tried to breathe and felt his lungs work in a different way, as if they were being held by careful hands inside him. The healers watched their monitors. Daniel watched the healers. "His pulse is dropping," Vaughn said. "Expected," Olin answered. "The nanofluid replaces oxygen carry, the heart adjusts, his brain waves are spiking, also expected. The fluid touches the nerves." Daniel heard them as if from far away. The cold in his body changed. It was not painful exactly. It was strange. He felt heavy, then light, then heavy again. His vision blurred. The white ceiling above him shifted into soft waves of color he could not name. Then all at once the heaviness left him. A new feeling spread through his body. It was warm but not hot, calm but not sleepy. It was like waking up after the best sleep of his life. He felt his chest rise and fall on its own. He felt his heartbeat slow and steady, stronger than before. The healers went very still. "His vital signs," Vaughn whispered through its disc. Olin was staring at the floating image of Daniel's body. The faint lines were not faint anymore. They were glowing brightly, growing brighter by the second. Where the broken parts had been, fresh silver threads were spreading through him, weaving into his tissue like roots fin. Ding good soil. This is not in our records, Alan said softly. What is happening? Vaughn asked. Alan did not answer for a long moment. The healer's luminous skin pulsed in slow waves of confusion and wonder. The fluid is not just replacing his blood, Alan said at last. It is joining him. Daniel lifted one hand. It moved easily. He looked at his palm and saw, just for a second, faint silver lines moving under the skin like quiet rivers. Then they were gone. He turned his head toward healer Alan. His voice was clear now, no longer cracked. What did you put inside me? 3 slow hours passed inside the medical bay, and in those 3 hours the Solari healers forgot to eat, to rest, or even to speak above a whisper. They simply watched Daniel Reyes the way astronomers watch a new star. Daniel sat up on the soft, glowing bed. He should not have been able to. Less than 4 hours ago a piece of whole steel had been sticking out of his chest. Less than 2 hours ago his blood had been drained from his body and replaced with a silver fluid that no human had ever carried. And yet he sat up easily as if rising from a long nap. He looked down at his bare chest. The deep wound where the metal had pierced him was almost closed. As he watched, the edges of broken skin moved on their own, knitting together in slow, shimmering waves. Tiny silver lines ran along the wound for a moment, then sank back under the surface, leaving smooth pink skin behind. A bruise on his shoulder, dark and ugly when he first woke, faded as he stared at it. The color drained out of it like ink washed from cloth. Daniel slowly lifted his hand and touched his own chest. The skin felt normal, warm, alive. "Ow," he said quietly. Healer Alan stood beside the bed for arms folded in a calm pose, the floating translator disc humming softly near its shoulder. The other healers were grouped at the back of the room, watching from a careful distance. "Your body has accepted the nanofluid," Alan said. "More than accepted, it has welcomed it. That is what you wanted, isn't it? We hoped only that it would keep you alive. We did not expect this." Daniel held up his arm and turned it slowly in the air. The light from the ceiling fell across his skin. For a brief moment he saw the silver lines again, tracing the path of veins that were not really veins anymore. Then they faded. "There is more," Alan said. A small Solari healer stepped forward and placed a thin silver pad on the floor by Daniel's bed. "Step on it, please." Daniel slid off the bed and stood on the pad. His legs felt strong, steadier than they had felt in years of long missions and short sleeps. He looked at the floating image that appeared in the air beside Olin. The image showed his body in detail. Bones, muscles, nerves, and running through all of it, like a second nervous system, were fine silver lines that spread into every part of him. "The nanofluid is not staying in your veins," Olin said. "It is moving along your nerves. Your brain is talking to it, and it is talking back." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. He could feel that. Now that the healer had said it, he could feel it. There was a soft awareness inside him, like a friend standing just behind his shoulder, ready to help. When he thought about lifting his arm, the awareness moved with him before his arm even started to rise. "Can you hear me?" he asked, not sure if he meant the healer or the silver inside him. Olin answered, "I can hear you. Do you also hear something?" Daniel closed his eyes. He heard the hum of the ship's reactor through the wall behind him, 3 decks away. He heard the soft breathing of every Solarian in the room, each one different, each one a small song. He heard the cold flow of air through the vents, the tiny clicks of the floating instruments, the faint chime of the translator disc that he had thought was silent. He opened his eyes again. "I hear too much," he said. "Your senses are sharper," Olin said. "The fluid is helping your nerves do more than they were made to do." Daniel looked at the healers gathered at the back of the room. He could see soft heat coming off their bodies in faint shapes, a glow around each of them that had nothing to do with their luminous skin. He could see the small, warm patches in the walls where pipes ran. He could see, through the floor itself, a faint glow that he guessed was the reactor. Turned to Olin. "Is this dangerous for you?" The healer's bioluminescent skin flickered through several thoughtful patterns. "We do not know yet. The fluid was designed to repair. We did not design it to bond. But it is bonding. It thinks you are home." A young Solari healer in the back said something quickly in their own chiming language. Olin answered softly, then turned back to Daniel. My young one asks a question I cannot answer, Alan said. She asked what you are now, if you are still only human. Daniel looked at his hands again. He flexed his fingers. They felt the same. They were his fingers. He felt no different. Tea in his mind. He still remembered his sister. He still remembered the smell of rain. He still felt the small, heavy thing in his chest that was grief for his lost crew. I'm still me, he said. Then perhaps that is the answer, Alan replied. You are still you, only more. Before Daniel could speak again, a soft chime rang through the ceiling, not the translator. A ship alarm, gentle but clear. The pale walls flickered with a slow yellow pulse. Alan's forearms tensed. Healer turned its long neck toward the ceiling, listening. Senior Healer Vaughn, what is happening? Alan asked into the air. The older healer's voice came back through the ceiling, no longer calm. The translator turned the chiming into hard words. 3 ships, dark hulls, wedge-shaped, approaching from behind the drift cloud. They have weapons online. Daniel sat still. He knew those ships. He had seen them tear the Halberd apart. The raiders, he said quietly. They followed you. Alan looked at him with wide, dark eyes. We are not a war vessel, human. We cannot fight them. Daniel slowly stepped down from the silver pad. The awareness inside him stirred as if waking up. The silver lines under his skin pulsed once, just once, and then went still. Then it is good, Daniel said, that you saved me. Yellow light pulsed along the curved corridors of the Lorana, and for the first time in many years the Solari healers did not know what to do with their hands. They were a peaceful people. Their ship had no gun decks. Their training did not include battle drills. They were doctors. They had spent their lives learning how to mend, not how to fight. And now 3 raider ships were closing in around them. Daniel Reyes walked through the corridor with Healer Alan at his side. He was wearing a simple gray medical gown the Solari had given him. His feet were bare on the warm floor. He did not feel cold. He did not feel afraid. He felt awake in a way he had never been before. They reached the command room of the Lorana, a wide circular space with a floating display in the center. The display showed 3 dark wedge-shaped ships closing on them from behind a thick cloud of frozen dust. Senior Healer Vaughn stood at the center, her hands moving over soft, glowing controls. They have not opened fire yet, Vaughn said. They have sent a message. Play it, Alan said. A rough voice filled the room. The translator turned it into broken human words. Solari vessel, hand over the human. You took him from our prize, we let you live. We come aboard, we take him, then we go. Refuse, and we cut your ship open. Daniel's jaw tight. So they had not been random attackers. They had been hunting the Halberd on purpose. They had wanted something or someone from his crew, and now they wanted him. What does the prize mean? Alan asked him quietly. I do not know, Daniel said. My ship was mapping trade routes. We had no cargo worth dying for, unless, he paused, unless we mapped something they did not want mapped. Vaughn looked between them. The older healer's luminous skin flickered with stress. We cannot fight them, Vaughn said. Our shields will hold for 3 of your minutes, maybe 4. They will board us. We have no weapons. Then we hand him over. Another healer said softly from the side, we are doctors. We saved his life. That is enough. We cannot die for him. A few of the other Solari nodded. Alan's skin flashed bright silver, sharp and clear. We will not hand him over. He trusted us. We do not break trust. We will all die, Alan. Then we die together. Daniel listened to them with a strange calm. Inside his chest, the silver awareness stirred again. It was paying attention now. It was reading the room. He could feel it scanning the corridors of the ship without him telling it to. He could feel it counting the airlocks, the entry points, the weak places in the hall. He stepped forward into the middle of the room. You will not die for me, he said. You will not hand me over either. Every Solari in the room turned to look at him. I will meet them, Daniel said, alone, a long silence. Even the yellow alarm light seemed to pulse more slowly. Human, Alan said carefully. You are not a soldier. I am exactly a soldier, Daniel answered. I am a commander of the Earth Navy. I was a Marine before that. I have fought in 3 border wars. You are also still healing, Alan said. Your body is doing things we do not understand. Then let us see what it can do. Alan stared at him for a long moment. Then the healer gave a slow nod and turned to the others. Seal the inner doors of the medical decks. Move the young ones to the inner core. Bring the human a weapon. We do not have weapons, Alan. Then bring him anything heavy. A small Solari ran from the room. Daniel turned to a wall panel and watched the display. The three raider ships were almost on them now. He could see them clearly in the floating image, dark and ugly, all sharp edges and old metal. Their boarding tubes were extending like long black arms. He felt the silver inside him gather itself. It was not a thought he made on purpose. It was more like flexing a muscle he had not known he had. The awareness inside him answered. He looked down at his bare arm and watched calmly as a soft silver layer rose to the surface of his skin. It was smooth and thin like a second skin made of liquid metal. It covered his hand, his arm, his chest, his legs. Where it passed, it hardened just a little, then softened again, ready to move with him. The Solari around him stepped back. Daniel's reflection caught in the dark surface of the display. His eyes had changed. They were the same shape, the same set, but the color was now a calm, polished steel. He did not feel different inside. He felt the same. Daniel Reyes, son of a fisherman, brother of a teacher, commander of a dead ship, but on the outside he was something else. A first shock hit the Lorana. The whole ship shook gently. The lights flickered. "They are firing," Vaughn said. "They are knocking." Daniel corrected. A second shock, then a heavier one. The display showed the boarding tubes locking onto the hull. The Lorana was being held in place like an animal in a trap. Olin looked at Daniel, 4 hands tied at the sides. "What do you need from us?" the healer asked. "Close the inner doors," Daniel said. "Do not open them. Whatever you hear out there, do not open them." "And you?" Daniel looked at the airlock corridor that led to the outer hull where the first boarding tube was already burning its way through. "I will go meet them," he said. He walked toward the corridor with steady steps. The silver layer on his skin caught the yellow light of the alarms. The Solari healers watched him go, and not one of them spoke because they had no words yet for what he was becoming. The first raider to step through the smoking hole in the Lorana's hull was a tall creature with thick gray skin and 4 small eyes set in 2 rows. It carried a heavy plasma rifle and wore battered black armor covered in old scratches. Behind it, 6 more raiders pushed through the breach, weapons raised, voices rough and barking in their own harsh tongue. They expected to find frightened doctors hiding behind medical carts. They found one human standing in the dim emergency lights at the end of the corridor. He was not running, he was not hiding. He was simply standing barefoot on the warm floor, body covered in a thin silver layer that caught the red emergency glow and turned it into something colder. His eyes were calm. The lead raider laughed. It was an ugly sound like rocks grinding together. It spoke into a small device on its collar. The translator on the Lorana picked it up and turned the words clear. "Only one. They sent a single human in a sheet. Take him." Another raider growled. "Alive, we need him alive." The lead raider raised its rifle and fired. The plasma bolt was bright blue and moved as fast as light. It struck Daniel in the center of his chest. The silver layer rippled like water taking a stone. The bolt sank into the silver, then dissolved into tiny sparks that drained away through the surface and disappeared. Daniel did not move. He did not even step back. The raiders went very still. Then they all fired at once. The corridor lit up bright as the inside of a star. Plasma bolts struck Daniel from every angle: chest, shoulders, legs, head. The silver layer rippled again and again, drinking each bolt, taking each one apart in mid-flight. Daniel stood inside the storm of fire for 3 full seconds. He did not move. When the firing stopped, he was still there, still standing, still calm. The lead raider took a slow step back. Daniel took a fast step forward. He covered the long corridor in less than a second. The silver inside him knew where every raider was, where every weapon pointed, where every joint and weak spot lived under their armor. His body moved with that knowing. His feet barely touched the floor. He reached the lead raider, took the heavy rifle out of its 4-fingered hand and swung the butt of it across the creature's face. The raider went down hard. Daniel turned, raised the rifle, and fired 3 short bursts. 3 more raiders fell. Silver in his arm steadied the gun. The silver in his eyes guided the shots. The remaining raiders broke and ran. Daniel followed. He moved through the corridors of the Lorana like a quiet storm. He did not shout. He did not roar. He did not waste a single motion. When raiders ducked behind corners, he stepped through smoke and pulled them out. When they fired, he let the silver take the bolts and kept walking. When they begged, he stopped firing and tied them to the wall with cables torn from the panels. He was not cruel, he was just thorough. Deck by deck, the Lorana grew quieter. In the medical bay, Healer Allen watched the internal cameras with the other Solari. They saw their human walk through fire without burning. They saw him take blows from heavy weapons and see again as the wounds closed in real time. They saw him stop twice to help injured raiders he had already disarmed, pressing his silver hand to a bleeding wound and holding it there until the bleeding stopped. "He is a soldier," one young healer whispered. "He is more than that," Allen said softly. "He is a doctor too. He fights, but he does not enjoy it." On the far end of the ship, the last raider commander cornered Daniel in the wide cargo bay where the third boarding tube had docked. The commander was bigger than the others, almost twice Daniel's size, with a heavy beam cannon mounted on its shoulder. It had watched its crew fall through the camera feeds. It was not afraid, it was angry. "You are not a man," the commander snarled through the translator. "You are a machine in a man's skin." Daniel stopped in the doorway. The silver on his body shimmered. "I was a man this morning," he said quietly. "I'm still trying to figure out what I am now. Then let me help you decide." The beam cannon fired. The blast was wide and hot, far stronger than any rifle. It struck Daniel across the shoulder and chest. The silver layer fought, rippled, then cracked. A line of real pain ran through him. The blast threw him back against the wall and a long burn opened across his left side. Smoke rose from his shoulder. The Solari watching the cameras cried out. The commander stepped forward, satisfied. "Not so unbreakable." Daniel pushed himself up from the wall. As he stood, the silver under his skin moved fast. The burn began to close. The pain faded. New silver flowed into the cracked layer and sealed it. His shoulder reset itself with a small, soft sound. He rolled it once, testing it. The commander froze in place. Daniel looked up. His steel eyes had gone a shade darker. "That hurt," he said. He moved. The commander tried to raise the beam cannon again. It never finished. Daniel was across the room and beside it in a blink. He took the cannon by its mount, tore it off the commander's shoulder and threw it across the bay. Then he caught the larger creature by the collar of its armor and lifted it off the floor with one hand. "Tell your fleet to leave," Daniel said. "Tell them that any ship that comes near the Lorano again will not get a second warning." The commander, dangling in the air, gave a slow, shaking nod. Daniel set it down gently. In the medical bay, Healer Allen lowered 4 hands to 4 sides and whispered a word the Solari language almost never used. "Unstoppable." Word travels fast in the dark places between stars, and bad news travels fastest of all. By the time Daniel Reyes stepped through the boarding tube and onto the Raider flagship, the rest of their fleet on the far side of the drift cloud was already hearing panicked voices over open channels. "Do not engage the Solari ship. The human is not normal. Pull back now." Daniel walked the dark corridors of the flagship alone. The silver layer covered him from neck to feet. His bare hands held no weapon. He did not need one. The raiders he found on the way either dropped their guns and ran or threw themselves on the floor and begged. He bound the begging ones and let the running ones run. He reached the bridge in under 10 minutes. The captain of the flagship, a thin gray creature with a long braided beard, sat in its high chair and stared at him with frightened eyes. "Please," it said through its translator. "We are leaving. The fleet is leaving. We were only paid to take you. We did not know what you were." "Who paid you?" Daniel asked. The captain hesitated. Daniel did not move closer, but the silver on his hand pulsed once, just once. The captain spoke fast. "A trade group. They said your ship had mapped a hidden route to a system they claimed. They wanted the maps. They wanted any officer alive who knew the route. We did not know it was a peaceful crew. We thought you were scouts." "What is the name of the trade group?" the captain told him. Daniel quietly stored the name in his memory. "Now," Daniel said, "you will give me your fleet codes. You will release every signal block you put on the Solari ship. You will fly your fleet to the nearest neutral station and turn yourselves into the Earth Solari trade office that will be set up by tomorrow. There is no such office. There will be by tomorrow." The captain swallowed and nodded. Daniel turned and walked off the bridge. By the time he stepped back through the boarding tube into the Lorana, the silver on his skin was already pulling back. sinking quietly under the surface like water draining into the ground. His gray medical gown was torn and burned in places. His feet were still bare. He looked once again like a tired man. Healer Allen was waiting for him at the airlock. The healer's forearms were folded in a calm pose, but the luminous skin underneath flickered with many emotions at once. Fear, wonder, gratitude, and something softer that the translator did not have a word for. "You are alive," Allen said. "So are you," Daniel said. Because of you first." They stood in silence for a moment. Behind Allen, the other Solari healers came out of the medical bay slowly, watching Daniel with careful eyes. The young healer who had asked what he was now stepped to the front and bowed her long neck. Daniel bowed his head back. "Healer Allen," he said quietly, "I need to ask what is inside me." "We have been asking the same question for the last hour," Allen answered. "Our council is already meeting. We want to study you if you allow it, not as a test subject, as a partner. No other species in our records has bonded with the nanofluid this way, not even our own. Will it stay? We do not think it will leave. It thinks you are home." Daniel nodded slowly. He flexed his hand. The skin looked normal, but under the surface, far down, he could feel the silver river moving quietly through him, calm and waiting. "Then I am going to need to learn what I am," he said. "We will help you," Allen said. "If you wish, we will take you home first. Earth. We can carry you there. Then your people and ours can speak. We owe you that." Daniel looked at the curved blue corridor around him. He thought of his sister back in Arizona. He thought of the ISV Halberd, gone now. He thought of his lost crew and of the trade group somewhere out there who had paid to have them killed for a map. "Yes," he said, "take me home. But Olin, when the council meets, tell them this. The trade group that paid the raiders, the one that killed my crew, it is not done. They will hear what happened here. They will know you helped me. They will come for you next. We are healers, not warriors." Daniel met the older being's dark eyes. "You have a warrior now." Olin stared at him for a long moment. Then the healer gave a slow bow with all four arms. "Then perhaps the galaxy is about to change." The Lorana turned through the drift cloud and pointed itself toward human space. The raider fleet, what was left of it, scattered into the dark in many directions, broadcasting frightened warnings as they ran. Some of those warnings would reach the trade group. Some would reach other raider crews. And some, in time, would reach Earth. Daniel stood at a tall, curved viewport on the upper deck. The stars rolled past in slow patterns. His gray medical gown had been replaced with a soft Solari travel robe, gentle on his skin. He looked at his reflection in the dark glass of the window. For a moment his face looked normal. A tired commander, a man who had lost his ship and his crew, a brother who needed to call his sister and find a way to tell her he was alive. Then the reflection moved. Faint silver lines rose under his skin, tracing the path of veins that were no longer simple veins. They glowed for one long heartbeat, calm and steady, like rivers waiting to be called. Then they sank back down and were gone. Daniel let out a slow breath. He did not know yet what kind of soldier he would become. He did not know yet what kind of doctor, what kind of brother, what kind of man. He only knew this. He was still himself, and he was more. Far away in dark trade halls on a distant world, a quiet message arrived from the edge of the Valen drift. It said only 6 words. The human did not stay dead. Blood pooled in slow circles around Daniel Reyes, drifting through the broken cargo bay like dark red clouds in zero gravity. He had stopped trying to count how many of his crew were dead. The number did not matter anymore. The ISV Halberd was a corpse of twisted metal and dead screens, and he was inside it, pinned against a bent support beam with a jagged piece of hull steel buried deep in his chest. He coughed. Tiny droplets of red floated away from his mouth and joined the slow storm around him. The Halberd had been a quiet exploration ship, mapping the edge of the Velen drift, looking for safe trade routes. They were scientists and engineers, not soldiers. The raiders had come out of nowhere. 3 dark wedge-shaped ships had punched through the Halberd's shields in less than a minute. The last thing Daniel saw before the cargo bay split open was his second officer being pulled into the vacuum, still wide. That had been 30 minutes ago, maybe 40. Time was hard to track when you were dying. Daniel reached for the small recorder clipped to his collar. His fingers felt cold and far away, like they belonged to someone else. He pressed the record button with a shaking thumb. "This is Commander Daniel Reyes," he whispered. "ISV Halberd mission log final entry." He stopped to breathe. The breath came out as a wet rattle. "We were attacked at coordinates Delta Velen 9. Unknown raiders. Crew is gone. Ship is gone. I am not going to make it." He closed his eyes for a moment. "If anyone finds this, tell my sister I tried. Tell Commander Root is not safe. Tell them." His voice failed him. He let his hand fall. The dark around him was deep and silent. He thought about his sister back home in Arizona. He thought about the dog he used to have as a kid. He thought about the smell of rain on hot pavement, something he had not felt in 9 years of space service. Small things, the kind of things that come back to a man when he is leaving. Then the dark began to glow. A soft blue light filled the broken cargo bay, slow and steady like the slow rise of dawn. Daniel forced his eyes open. Through the gaping wound in the hull, a ship was approaching. It was not like any ship he had ever seen. The hull was curved and smooth, made of a pale blue alloy that seemed to shift color as it moved. There were no sharp edges, no visible weapons, no painted markings. It looked grown rather than built. A docking arm extended from the strange vessel and locked onto the broken edge of the halberd. Air hissed. Light flooded in. 3 figures stepped through the new opening. They were tall and slender, taller than any human Daniel had ever met. Their skin glowed with a soft inner light, shifting between pale silver and gentle blue. Each of them had 4 arms, 2 large and 2 smaller, and the smaller arms were already moving, holding floating glass instruments that hummed in the air. Their faces were narrow and calm, with large dark eyes and no nose he could see. One of them came close and knelt beside him. The being lifted a small disc that floated above its hand, and the disc spoke for it in a soft, chiming voice that the translator in Daniel's collar slowly turned into words. "Human, we see you. We are Solari, be still." Daniel tried to speak. Nothing came out but blood. The Solari healer ran one of its small hands above his chest. The floating disc chimed again. "His vessel is broken. His blood is leaving him. His heart is slow." The healer paused. The chiming changed pitch, softer now. "He will end in 2 of his minutes." Another Solari moved closer. This one was a little smaller, with patches of deeper silver on its skin. Daniel guessed this was their leader. "Healer Alan, can we save him?" "By normal method, no," the first one answered. "Solari blood will kill a human. Stored human blood is not aboard." But the healer paused again. Its luminous skin flickered with quick patterns. "There is the new method, the Nanofluid. It has never been tested on his species. And if we do nothing, he dies in this bay." The leader looked down at Daniel. Daniel looked back, his vision blurring at the edges, his chest barely rising now. "Human," the leader said through the translator disc, "we can try to save you, but the method is new. We do not know what it will do to your kind. Do you wish us to try?" Daniel's lips moved. No sound came. He found the smallest amount of strength left in him and gave a single weak nod. The Solari moved fast. A floating stretcher slid under his body. He felt no pain as it lifted him, only a strange light feeling as if he were already half gone. The piece of whole steel in his chest was still there, but a soft field of blue light held it in place so it would not move. The healers guided the stretcher through the docking arm and into their ship. The corridors of the Solari vessel were curved and pale, lit from inside the walls themselves. There were no sharp corners. The air smelled faintly of clean rain. Daniel watched the ceiling pass over him in slow waves of light. His heart was beating so quietly now that he wondered if it had already stopped. "Stay with us, human," the healer chimed beside him. "The method begins soon. Do not let go." Daniel tried to hold on. The lights blurred. The chiming voices faded. Then the dark came in again, soft and complete, and he was gone.